Hello, it's Kelly Kleinman here, Dealership News, dealershipnews.com podcast. And we're fortunate to have Kathleen Lewis with us. And Kathleen is an executive recruiter for the Lithia Motor Group. She's based out of Alaska, which still basically operates in the Pleistocene time zone. And hi, Kathleen. How you doing? Thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for that wonderful intro.
Well, I have to ask you, you live up there in the Great White North. Do you fish? Do you hunt? Do you hike? Why are you up there?
Well, I was born here, but I don't hunt. I have bird hunted before, but I do fish and I do hike and love to raft, snow machine, ski, all of that kind of stuff. And it's very accessible here. So it's a really good lifestyle. Yeah,
it's really nice. I've never been to Alaska, but I feel as though it's something that will be in my near future as far as a cruise is concerned. Although I'd probably like to just drive up the coast and check it out. It's something that everybody, I think, has to do at some point because it is so amazing and so beautiful.
Well, you won't be driving up the coast. You'll be driving the Alaska Highway, and a lot of that's inland.
Oh, well, that's right.
But I think beautiful.
Yeah, but to get up through Oregon and Washington, right? I think I have to.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
Yes, that's gorgeous.
So the fact that you live in Alaska is impressive enough, considering the challenges that living at that latitude brings. Obviously, you like a good challenge because recruiting talent into the automotive industry is quite a challenge to begin with. What led you into the automotive industry?
Quite frankly, it was Lithia Motors, the company that I worked for. I was executive recruiting for a local firm here, and a number of my now teammates had reached out to me, and I really didn't think that I would be interested in the automotive industry, but the stories that I was hearing about the company and the culture and the direction is what got me into automotive. And I feel everything that they said to me was true. It's a great place to work. It highly values people, and I work with high performers, and I really enjoy that.
What does the day of a Lithia Motors executive recruiter look like?
Well, I mean, they're all different, but lately it looks like interview after interview and then typing up notes.
Hey, you know what? Back in the 70s, finding or even considering college talent to sell at or manage a car dealership was basically unheard of. In your estimation, what has changed since the older days?
Well, I think a lot has changed. And I know that right now we are actively pursuing a paradigm shift. So, if you think of automotive in the old days, I think a lot of it was so money driven. And honestly, it's still a great place to make money, but it's also a place to have a really satisfying career. And I know that for us, we've got departments in our company where we lay out career paths. And if people want to go to the top, so long as they can meet performance expectations and exceed them, we can make that happen for them. I think there's a lot of other things too, whereas, it's not been an industry that's been something that women necessarily think of for a career path. But if you'll notice, there's so many more general managers who are female and women in a lot of different positions, not just the office. I think that's one thing, but I think automotive is kinder and gentler and savvier than it used to be. I mean, what do you think?
Well, I've seen doing as many interviews as I've done, I've seen some really amazing resumes. Some folks who've gone to Ivy League schools, a lot of education in the background, a lot of finance experience. Brendan Harrington over there, Longo Toyota, the largest dealership in the world, he went to school, in the Ivy League. He went to Sophia University in Japan, and he also went to Stanford. So he came in with some serious academic cred. Well, let me ask you a question then. What qualities? What qualities do you look for in management and/or executive prospects? Is there a particular set of criteria that a prospect has to match to even be considered by Lithia Motors? It seems like you've got a pretty high standard.
Well, I think, everybody's got sort of that little bucket of unicorn qualities that we're looking for, right? So there's an ideal. We want high-performing people. We want people who have energy. We want people who know how to lead teams and who will engage with the people they work with as well as the processes. And we want people who genuinely care about, keeping customers for life, right? What I look for, anybody can say that there's that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what I look for is a person who's genuinely a high performer. They can always quantify their success. Like, that's one of the markers. Like, they don't have to talk about generalities. They can literally say, I started here, I went here, and they can do it over and over again. But the person who is also a high performer, typically speaking, takes himself seriously as a professional. So they don't bounce around. They haven't been at a different dealership, every single year. There are things like that that are kind of hallmarks when you can talk about the personal characteristics, but then you can look at actual data and you can see things that they've done or haven't done that kind of identifies them as kind of head and shoulders above the rest of their peers. And there's a career progression usually. There's a thoughtful progression to where they are now. It's not random. They don't necessarily just go wherever the wind blows. These are some of the things that I notice.
Do you tend to just pull from the automotive industry, or do you go outside of the automotive industry to find the talent?
Typically speaking, in the executive and management positions, it definitely helps to have experience in the automotive industry. And so, in fact, I would say that even if you're looking at like general managers and general sales managers, it's really nice to find people who have actually sold cars, who actually understand like all facets of the business. Maybe they've even been through finance, that kind of stuff. As far as other kinds of positions, like corporate tax positions and, directors of payroll or accounting, they don't necessarily have to have been in the automotive industry. We are looking for someone who probably has public company experience, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so that would actually answer my next question, which was, as a follow-up, what is your perfect candidate for a management position or F&I? So you will go elsewhere to find the talent. In some regards, it's important that they do have automotive industry experience, but in some regards, it's not all that essential.
Yeah, sometimes they can have other experience where, there's transferable skills, and if they've got all the other qualities that you're looking for, it's not such an incredible leap. But barring a lot of characteristics that you're looking for and not having automotive talent, then it's probably not the right candidate.
How do you deal with the transient nature of the industry and its talent? It seems as though luring talents away from a competitor would be the shortest path of filling an important position, rather dig through resumes all day, which I know you do anyway. But just curious as to what percentage is a lure away or trying to hire somebody away from a competitor as opposed to finding somebody fresh?
Well, boy, I guess I can't give you stats for like the percentage on that. I guess my perspective, and probably not everybody that I work with shares this,
Mm-hmm.
but I want our company to be such a great place to work that people want to work with us, right? And so using our avenues for messaging, whether that's on LinkedIn or, interviews like this or whatever, obviously I'm going to see people when I'm looking that I'd love to work for us. And I might reach out. I'm not going to hard sell someone or anything like that. But, I'd like to attract people because of the things that we're doing in our company and because we're creating a culture and an environment that a person wants to stay long term. Like, we're providing career advancement. We're providing opportunities. That would be my preference. But, there's a little bit of both. I'll be honest.
Are you persuasive?
I think so.
What sources? I'm just really curious on this point. What sources do you use to find leads? What's your practice for following up on those leads? Because in the auto industry, following up on leads is everything, and there seems to be a lack of it, according to some of the research that I've not only done but seen. I'm sure you probably don't have a problem with following up on leads. So, what sources do you use?
We get leads from a lot of the recruiting platforms, Career Builder, Indeed, that kind of stuff, so you can place open ads, you can place blind ads, but, a lot of leads that I get are from people who are in positions and they're performing and they're doing a good job. And so I'll ask people, hey, I'm looking for, this position. Do you know anyone? Have you ever worked with anyone who maybe even years ago were really they shone and they probably progressed to that position now? If you give me a name, I'll find them. I'll go look for them. But I love referrals, to be honest with you. Talking to people who know someone, who have great things to say about someone. And I'm not shy. I'll find them and I'll reach out to them. That's my favorite source. But, we do have lots. On LinkedIn, for example, building your network and networking. And
Sure.
people reach out all the time. So I guess we've got a bucket of sources where we get those leads.
Well, there's nothing better than a warm lead. Referral business is the best business in the world. It's the low-hanging fruit, right?
Well, and quite frankly, I think the quality is the best, and particularly if you've got, I talk to our employees all the time who they're in our culture and they know the expectation and knowing the context for where we want to place someone. If someone says, wow, my colleague, we worked together way back here in X store, they were amazing. Why don't you reach out and see if they're interested? I'd love that.
Yeah.
Those are my favorites because they know they have a good idea that they fit in our culture and they already know that they're high-performing individuals. Referrals are wonderful.
PC aside, this question is sexist, I apologize, but what role does being a woman play in being able to bring quality talent to the table? Do you adjust your style depending on your target, even in a subconscious manner? I mean, after all, it's sales and you should always be selling, right?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with that. But I think I don't know that it has to do with me being a woman so much as adjusting maybe the way that I communicate to the individual
Sure.
that I'm talking to.
Mm-hmm.
You're asking about, features of their lives and you pick up on things and I guess just trying to get to that place where, I guess ultimately the goal is to get honest feedback from the people that you're talking to. And so making them comfortable and asking them questions in a way that they're comfortable with it so that you don't have to weed through a bunch of generic statistics and data that don't really answer the question you really want to answer, and are you the best candidate for this position?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't know that I think that I use womanhood necessarily, but I definitely adjust my line of questioning and my style per person.
Which only makes sense. How many other recruiters do you work with at Lithia Motors, and is there a sense of competition amongst the staff?
I'm on a team of 5, and we're scattered around the United States, and we are highly collaborative. So, if I'm placing blind ads, for example, for a general manager in Alaska, I'm getting applicants from all over the country. And if, most of those are not the right candidate for Alaska, or, you get, halfway through the conversation and, in fact, they don't think they want to move, then I'm going to share them with my colleagues because ultimately, at the end of the day, we all share the philosophy that we want the best candidates working for our company. And so I don't feel like we are competitive like that at all.
Do you have to pay a candidate or offer a candidate extra money to move up to Alaska? And there's a lot of incentives that are really good financial incentives to live in Alaska. How does that work with Lithia Motors?
There's no special money to move to Alaska. We don't hesitate to relocate folks. If they're the right candidate, that's not a concern of ours. But there's no, sign-on bonus or anything like that. Because the truth of the matter is we want people to stay a long time. Mm-hmm. They really need to want to come to Alaska, and not for the money, but because they want to be here and they want the challenge of whatever store they're going to be working in. And so what we don't want is to hire somebody, give them a bonus, and they stick through the first winter and go, I am out of here.
Great point. And there's plenty of people who would love to get away from it all, so to speak, and move up to Anchorage or Fairbanks or Juneau or wherever to move to Alaska. There's a lot of people who love the cooler climates, right? And it shouldn't be so hard to attract those people. All right, very, very good answer. Let me ask you a question. If you had to brag about Lithia Motors, and we know it's a huge group, and they're very well received in the industry. They're standard bearers. Let me hear your pitch. Let me hear how much you love Lithia Motors, and why would I want to work there?
Well, I'll tell you, the thing that I love about Lithia Motors is that I work with a lot of people who've been with a company a long, long time, and almost all of them say, I like working here more now than the day I started 21 years ago, 17 years ago, 15 years ago, 11 years ago. It's so common. But specifically about the individuals that I work with, I don't know how it is, but they all seem to have this it factor. Like, they are smart, they're high performing, they've got great personalities. There's an amazing, amazing team at Lithia, and for being a company of 13,000 employees, it still feels like a small company. Like, the people that you can reach out to at any given moment in all departments, they're available right at your fingertips. Like, I don't know, it's magic. It's beautiful.
Where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
5 years from now, I don't know, maybe working remotely from the beach, hiring great people. What do you think?
Which beach?
Honduras.
Does Lithia have a dealership in the Honduras?
No, I'm just teasing about that. But I have suggested that we should probably go over to Cuba.
That market's opening up from what I hear.
Right?
Maybe not so quickly, though. Hey, listen, it was awesome talking to you. I'm really glad you took this interview on relatively short notice. This is Cathleen Lewis, and she is an executive recruiter for none other than Lithia Motors. Hey, have a great 2018. Let's touch base sometime down the line, and all the best to you.
And you as well. It was absolutely my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Cathleen Lewis. She's awesome, and she's with Lithia Motors. This is Kelly. This is DealershipNews.com's podcast. Good night.